Hello?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Very well. Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, you too. So, are you ready to begin?
For sure.
Joining us today is the 20-year-old Canadian climate activist, Nicholas Pasieczka, who is from Oak Bluff, Manitoba. Nicholas is currently in his third year at University of Manitoba, where he founded the university's first ever sustainability committee for the Faculty of Engineering. In April of 2019, he ran 100 kilometers in one day to raise money and awareness for the Pollinate Group, which is a non-profit organization that works to empower women through environmental and social change. Along with having represented Canada at the International Energy Summit in Vancouver, he was named one of the top 25 environmentalists under 25 just last year.
So, could you tell us a bit about your background prior to pursuing environmental change? Was climate activism something you've always been passionate about?
Great question. Actually, no. For most of my life, I was an air cadet for 7 years. And through the air cadet program, I had many opportunities to be involved in aviation. So I got my glider pilot license and then my private pilot license. And I actually had the opportunity to go to France on an aerospace exchange. My entire life, I wanted to be an aerospace engineer. And actually going to France to meet aerospace engineers, talk with them, see what they're doing, I realized that's not what I want to do with the rest of my life. That I want to do something bigger, help more people, have a bigger impact. So there was a point in the summer of 2018 when I really didn't know what I was going to be doing for the rest of my life, which scared me. And I knew I wanted to help more people. So I continued with engineering, and being involved in engineering, I got involved through several different student groups. One was Earth, which is the University of Manitoba Renewable Energy and Efficiency Technology Hub. And through that program and that club, I really learned how many people around the world need help and don't have access to the same amenities and lifestyle that we do. So we started building a solar cooker for people in the Ivory Coast of Africa. And I learned about 3 stone fires and how nearly 1 billion people don't have electricity. That is changing all the time. But a lot of people are using wood just to cook and heat, and using diesel and kerosene to cook their food, which really surprised me that there's that many people around the world. So through that organization, I really had my eyes opened and started becoming involved in environmentalism.
With that organization, what people have you impacted with that? Like, where have you taken that?
It didn't so much have a global impact as what we intended to, but it was more of a learning exercise for us. And we were having a energy problem statement swap with one of the universities in Côte d'Ivoire. So we gave them a problem statement from northern Manitoba with water resources on reserves and all the difficulties and challenges that have faced that problem. And with that project, it was more of a learning project for us at the university. And we really wish we could have continued publicizing that, but it was time to move on from that.
When thinking about your training in aviation, how did you kind of step aside from that dream of pursuing aviation into environmental activism?
That was a very difficult decision for me. Planes produce a lot of CO2 emissions, a lot. And to become a pilot, you need that experience. And to help people, my reasoning was that I would be able to help more people having this experience and understanding planes. So that way, one day, if I could improve the energy efficiency of planes, the fuel efficiency, or make electric planes, reducing the carbon footprint that way. So I had to understand the plane first before I could help improve it.
Okay, that sounds great. So what inspired you to run 100 kilometers in one day?
First off, if you're going to even think about that, I highly recommend a lot of training beforehand. Lots and lots of running. So I had the opportunity to attend the Conference on Sustainability and Engineering in Prince George, British Columbia. And at this conference, I met world-renowned engineers and scientists, and I sat through many different presentations about climate change and where we currently are. And they were showing in their presentations all these different stats on their board that the CO2 emissions of the world were way up here, and we need to get them down here by 2030. Otherwise, catastrophic things would happen to the Earth. And it was quite alarming. And I asked some of these scientists, well, what action can we do towards this? What can us younger people do to make this difference? And they didn't know, which really scared me at the time. And I started thinking, well, we're so young. Why should we feel sad about our future and our climate? There's definitely something that we can do. So instead of sitting around moping, I started thinking about how I could help more people. What work is being done to help other people in environmentalism? And so I started researching, and I realized there's so many different organizations, clubs, people, everyone's doing as much as they can towards this. And I felt, being very involved as I was, and I didn't know about this, it was important to help other people publicize the work that was being done. So instead of starting my own charity to promote work, I thought I would promote someone else already doing great work. So through that, I reached out to Pollinate Group, and they provide solar lights for people in the slums of India and Nepal, which, as I was talking before about the Three Stone Fires, is life-changing for these people. The fact that they save money, they don't have to pay for as much for diesel or kerosene to cook and light. This means students can study later at night because they have extra light, and that helps to break the cycle of poverty. But one thing that's really unique about this organization is that they hire women and they help empower women to bridge that equality gap to help everybody be on the same playing field. So to run, I knew I'm a very athletic person. I'm very involved in sport, and I wanted to help environmentalism. So I thought, why not combine the two? So I started training, and I was originally going to run around the perimeter of Winnipeg, which is around 90 kilometers. But I got into some issues with permitting, and the RCMP didn't want to allow it. So I found another place in Birds Hill Park, and I thought, I'm already this close. Might as well round it up to 100. Just go all the way. So then I started running for the charity.
Well, that's quite the feat, especially in one day.
Yeah.
So I hear that you represented Canada at the International Energy Summit. What was this experience like?
First off, I was very humbled and very honored to even attend and be a part of it. Natural Resources Canada and Student Energy, they're a global charity helping to educate youth on global energy. They helped fund my way to go to Vancouver. And at this conference, it was the first time youth were ever allowed at this forum, the Clean Energy Ministerial / Mission Innovation. There's two events combined in Vancouver. Being part of this event, I got to interact with CEOs, world leaders, and representatives, business people from across the globe. And youth, there was around 50 youth from different countries all around the world, which was very, very inspiring. And getting to meet people who are very like-minded, very passionate, hardworking, it was very inspirational to know that everybody around the world is working towards a common goal and that we're really in this together.
While you're at that event, what kind of things did you learn that surprised you?
What surprised me, talking about the electricity and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, how many people are still impoverished around the globe. And it's really easy for us to care about the environment when we have a bed to sleep in, we have food, and we have shelter. But when there's 800 million to a billion people who don't have electricity, who don't have affordable housing and clean water, it's very difficult for us to ask them to care about the environment. And that really surprised me, how many people still don't have access to what we consider basic necessities of life. And talking about COVID now, that is just showing the extra large gap between the different classes of people.
In your community in Manitoba, what kind of things have you been doing online in regards to sustainability?
At the University of Manitoba, we had a sustainability night where we were able to present our report and help other people realize what kind of work is being done and who can be involved with that. And also with that group, we had a Kahoot night where it was a little bit of a smaller group, but it was a lot of fun. The Kahoot was all themed on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And fun facts about that, just letting people know just how many cool things there are out there. So much more virtual impact and still getting people involved.
You seem like you've accomplished so much in your short time as a climate activist. What's next? Do you have any big plans?
Big plans. I would say nowhere near as big as what I've done previously, but a lot of smaller work, really working with my community and getting down. Local government and local community are very powerful. And you and I, we have a huge impact on our local community, and what we say really matters. And so I just finished helping write a report as part of one of our student teams. And this report emphasized how individuals, it's mainly focused for Winnipeg and Manitoba, that individuals, what actions they can take in different organizations doing good to be involved with. So my main mission right now is to really publicize people doing good work, help showcase all the amazing work being done, and get people involved in any way they can, whether it's virtually or in person, being safe with COVID restrictions. So getting back down to the fundamentals and helping out the community.
So what kind of field do you see yourself going into when you're finished school?
Great question. I want to go into, so I'm in engineering right now, in electrical engineering. I want to go into renewable energy and energy distribution. Bill Gates just released a new book on climate change, and he forecasts that within 50 to 100 years, we're going to need to, if not double, triple our electrical capacity. And think about electrical vehicles, the grid, and all the people that who aren't even born yet are going to need electricity. So population growth, as well as electrical heating. A lot of companies and countries have set goals for net zero carbon emissions by 2050. And to reach that, we need energy to power that. And there's going to be a big energy crisis if we're all going to be shifting to electricity. And I really believe that I can help make a positive impact by creating clean energy for everybody that's affordable, safe, and reliable.
So you plan to kind of pursue a career on the national level rather than provincial?
I wouldn't narrow myself just to one level, maybe work between the two. I believe that the provincial and federal levels are both very related and important. And if I started with one, I could definitely transition to the other. And being involved with climate policy, having a technical background, I originally wanted to be a member of parliament to help implement this environmental policy. However, I'm talking with a couple other people and different interviewers. They helped me realize that being a member of parliament, I would be able to represent a lot of people, but not necessarily make the change I would be able to want to implement. So it's about being impactful wherever you can be. Where would I have the most leverage? And being within renewable energy, having that technical background, I would then be able to help make very important decisions for climate legislation on a federal level.
In our class, we've learned about the 4 types of climate act. So by the sounds of it, you're more of a reformer.
Sure. Well, what are all the 4 types?
There's citizen, rebel, reformer, and change agent.
Oh, interesting. The reformer. I suppose so. I haven't given that much thought. But I think you're more the expert on this one. So if you think I fit there, I'll go with that one.
Hi. I'm going to pop in if you don't mind. What we were saying is for reformers, they go through legitimate means, such as lobbying and like working with government and professional opposition organizations, stuff like that, to like enact these differences through legitimate means that often, like, they're kind of being a part of the problem. So that was that part. So
cool.
Do you think you see yourself as a reformer?
Yeah, and thank you for explaining that. It sounds like a very cool course, and I don't know if it's all distant ed right now and all virtual, but I should definitely apply to St. Thomas University just to take the course.
It's a wonderful course, definitely.
Yeah, well, we have to talk more about that, but to answer your question, I would definitely agree that I'm much more of a reformer. I realized a couple of years ago, I was very hot-headed, a little bit irrational, and very quick to act. And that had its benefits, you know. It definitely inspired action and definitely motivated me and a lot of other people. But the way our society is built, this is my perspective and how I see it, that, for example, like you two right now, you're doing awesome work. You're helping learning about activism and you're educating your community about it. There's so many people and organizations already doing work. And I believe in talking about the different types of activism that each type of activist has its place. It's definitely situation dependent. And the way I foresee it is that I'm in it for the long run. I'm here to stay. And going through the systems and policies that we have in place, I like learning those rules. You gotta know the rules to play the game. So knowing those rules, I know I can make a bigger impact along that way. So I agree. Yeah, much more reformer.
You were talking about working like kind of simultaneously with women's rights and with environments. Like, in a sense, do you find that humanitarian issues and environments are intertwined in a way, or is that something that you've learned about or have any thoughts on?
Agreed. Very, very much so intertwined. Our Earth we're so connected in more ways than we realize. And women's rights are just as important as everybody else's rights. And having everybody empowered to know that they can make that difference, whatever small difference they can in their community and life, I think is very important. So there's definitely different standards of humanitarian around the world. And it's difficult in such a global world with different cultures clashing and people trying to push certain views on each other. It's fun in a way that, because with all the different cultures, it's very exciting. I should say exciting would be a better word. But I agree that human rights are very close to environmental rights, because we're talking before, the SDG number 1 is zero poverty, number 2 is no hunger. And talking about those two, that's a basic human necessity. So human rights are just as important as environmental rights.
I don't know if we've mentioned it, but you made a video about like biking. And
yes, I did. That was actually a lot of fun, but yeah, go for it.
So tell us a bit about your biking video. What happened there? I can't believe we didn't bring it up. I read all about it and I had to put it in the intro.
No worries. It was a lot of fun, actually. Winnipeg, in recent years, so just to put it in perspective, we have a lot of hydroelectric energy generation, and that means Manitoba, considering like carbon footprint, does a really great job for sustainability. However, because we're spread over such a large area, a lot of people still drive vehicles because of the convenience, but also just because of the sheer distance of living quarters. And Winnipeg has really been pushing sustainability. So we have some phenomenal new paved bike paths. I don't know if you ride bikes, but you can feel the difference between like okay, then you know the feeling between smooth pavement, fresh new pavement, and like a pothole filled road. And Winnipeg has some new transit, it has a new rapid transit system where they put along a biking path, which is completely off the road. So it's much safer to bike along this path, and it's connected all throughout the city. So a lot of people can use this to commute to work. And talking with a couple of my fellow students, they never heard of it. So I knew what I had to do. Make a quick video, go on the bike trails and put a GoPro on and show people it's a lot of fun to go biking and be outdoors. So,
what kind of advice do you have for young people who are considering pursuing a career in climate activism?
Keep it up. Go for it. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it. And this is very applicable to my story, but the journey to 1,000-mile race begins with a single step. And you have to start small. And you might not be able to see the full picture, the full end goal, but if you start working towards it, you have to begin the process. So get involved, reach out to your community, and really stand up for your beliefs. It's very easy to be pushed around and with such a polarized society on so many different topics. So work hard and don't forget to ask for help from people, because when people come together, we achieve a lot more. One thing I was talking about with some other people was if people have the opportunity to sit down with their family, for a Thanksgiving meal or a holiday meal, whenever you're sitting down and when conversations come up, I don't know if anyone has one of those uncles who always just starts prying or going against everything to be the devil's advocate. But when people start talking about climate change and sustainability, it's really important in those conversations to speak up, because we're very educated and you can explain why if people are saying, oh, there's nothing you can do about climate change, right? That's not true. There's lots we can do about it. And showcasing the positive aspect of it, of people coming together and making that difference. And it's helping change the perceptions of people. It doesn't happen overnight, but over years and years of work. And it starts, if there was a saying, my Dito is Ukrainian for grandfather. And he was saying, how can countries be expected to get together and cooperate when families can't? It's like a single family. And I was like, whoa, that's a really good perspective, right? If we can't get along with our families, how do we expect countries to get along? So it's taking those small steps and being willing to put yourself out there. So
awesome. Well, it's been wonderful talking with you. I'm not sure that on our end we have any more questions. So thank you so much for meeting with us.
Yeah, thanks for coming out.
Thank you both as well. It was a pleasure to get to know you and hear about all the amazing work you're doing. So I look forward to staying in touch and keep up all the great work.